Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pit Talk, pulling pits and the peas with your host, Gunny G. We back after another week break on this beautiful 15-degree weather over here in Washington. If you don't follow, like, subscribe, go ahead and follow, like, subscribe on everywhere you get your podcasts, on social media. Hit me up, Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions. Constructive criticism is welcome. If you don't like it, oh well. If you like it, let me know. But we got a special guest by hailing in from Wapato, Washington,
Wapato.
by the name of Fernando Hernandez, aka Theo Nando. Go ahead and say hi to the listeners and then get a brief background about you, Theo.
Hello, I'm like Vinny G said, I'm Fernando Hernandez. I'm from Wapato, Washington. Alumni, graduated here back in '96 and enlisted into the Marine Corps shortly after. 26 years later, I retired and didn't know where we wanted to live, so we figured let's move back home and figure out our next move. So here we are in Wapato. We renovated a house. If we look right, let's see if I can do this the right way. So that is my old bedroom. Yeah, we bought the house across the street from mom and dad, so hanging out with moms and pops. It's been it's been fun. It's very this transition portion of my life has been that, if anything, a transition. Like I said, went from 26 years in the Marine Corps to renovating a home, which I have no idea what I was doing. And luckily was surrounded by family and friends who helped me through the process and definitely learned, like in life, like in renovating a home, you're gonna unpeel something and find out there's more issues down there, and don't freak out about it. It's not the end of the world. We can figure out how to move forward from here. So it's been fun. The weather's been interesting. My last duty station was in Hawaii. So to go from Hawaii to snow, and I think we're in like 4-degree weather right now. It's yeah, it's been interesting.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, man. I've been asking you to come on, Theo, for a long time because your transition is something I was interested in, right? We're gonna get right into it. The meat and potatoes. So everybody hears. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're doing your thing, and I'm kind of in between, work and home. Everybody that I talk to talks about, the first duty station, and then when they get promoted as in senior enlisted. There's two different struggles, right? The beginning of the duty, beginning of your tour, beginning of the organization, Marine Corps, hoorah, as a PSC private, whatever it is that you come into, and then as a senior leader is a different type of struggle or different type of challenge. Can you share with us the beginning, if it was hard for you, or as a senior leader, what was the most challenging duty station and why?
Well, I think for me, career-wise, the most challenging duty station, I think anybody who's done time on a B billet or an SDA, that's pretty challenging. So nobody enlists into the Marine Corps and says, "Hey, one day I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and for 3 years become a salesman or a woman for the Marine Corps." And that was a really challenging portion. That time frame, was 2003 to 2000. So I had friends who were deploying, and I found myself, on the streets recruiting. So that was a challenging situation to be in. I remember, one of the harder challenges was enlisting young men and women, knowing that the possibilities of them, they were going to go off to Iraq, and that was just the reality of it. The challenging part was when they didn't come back. And then, I can remember one of our kids had passed, had died in Iraq, and then we went to the funeral, and the staff in CIC sat us down. It was like, "Hey guys, this sucks. I know it sucks, but we got to get on the phones. We got to get back on the phones. We had quotas that needed to be met. We had a car wash that we had to be at like a couple hours later. So a couple hours later, I'm in my Hoorah Marine Corps t-shirt, washing cars, thinking, what the hell, man?"
Yeah.
And, at the time I think, yeah, it was like 26, 27 at the time. So, you know, just trying to deal with that. And again, like anything, I think anybody who's been fortunate enough to be surrounded by good people, that's what got me through anything, any type of adversity, any type of tour or any type of time in my life where things were tough. And I thought, man, this really sucks. I was so lucky to be surrounded by some great people who had been there before. I think that's one thing that made it very lucky for me was I kind of looked to my elders. So as a sergeant, there was a gunny who helped me through, and he was always there to give advice and to tell me to keep going, to quit your crying. Things could be worse type deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that definitely was a hard tour for me.
But yeah, that's that's rough. As you talk about salesmen, I got to sell an organization, and then they're going to combat and not potentially not coming back. Hey, but we want you. We want you.
Yeah.
That's a mind game in itself for just for the recruiter. That's crazy. That's a crazy, just a crazy small story. Could now that you've done recruiting, you transition out of there and you go back to the fleet. You know, that already amplifies you as an individual, as a Marine, it excels your career. Now you're back in the fleet because that's only what, maybe a third and maybe an eighth of your career. What after
Right.
that made other duty stations so challenging? Was it even challenging? They didn't even compare?
Really, after that, no, I'll be completely honest with you. There was really nothing that, like anything in life, when you're going through struggles and adversity later on, it gives you perspective, it gives you experience, and you learn that, hey, okay, this isn't that bad. I've seen worse. And I think another thing, again, another gunny, I wanted to stay out there on recruiting duty. And a gunny sat me down and was like, nah, he's like, actually, I left recruiting duty. I was 26 years old and I hadn't deployed. So, he was like, well, why don't you go back to the fleet, deploy, and if you really think you want to come back, uh, okay. And he's like, but I can guarantee you after you've deployed, then you won't. So I said, okay, I'll take you up on that. And I left recruiting duty. I got stationed at the Pentagon. And there is a funny story with that deployment, or a pretty interesting story with that deployment. But I was able to deploy on a police transition team. So it was an IA billet that I was able to jump on and go on a police transition team. And again, I was probably a year later, so a year after recruiting duty, I was in Iraq on a police transition team. And so, again, I think then 27, 28 years old maybe. And then coming back, after that, I mean, really everything after that in the Marine Corps. I mean, there's personnel issues. There's things that you deal with young Marines that you aren't expecting, or you're just not, maybe not that ready for. But really, after I had done that, there really wasn't too much there was things that surprised me, but nothing that was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Helmet fire. What do I do? So, yeah.
So so now that I know that your career was like walk on water career, flawless, no issues, right? I'm just
Oh,
kidding. I know that you transitioned recently, right? You've been out for a little bit now, not too long, but enough to get a taste of it and see and mental, your mental, the whys, the purposes, right? Do you think that, being in 26 years, that obviously puts you at an advantage. We know this, but is there a disadvantage to being in the service that long where you transition into civilian where you're like, whoa,
yes and no. I think the disadvantage is that you really do think, and I think we've spoken about this one on one. In my 26 years, I prided myself on the fact that the uniform didn't define me as a person. My rank didn't define me. That just happened to be what I did, and I knew it wasn't a permanent. I knew it wasn't permanent. I knew I wasn't going to do it forever. But once I was out and retired, and when you're active duty, whether you're home or wherever you go, you get the, hey, thank you for your service. Can I buy you a beer? Blah blah blah. But once you're retired, you turn into a pumpkin. No, it's it's funny. You say, yeah, retired. I did 26 years in the Marine Corps. They're, okay, all right, but okay. And but had I said, "Oh yeah, I'm still serving. It's been 26 years," I know the response would be completely different, and it's okay. That's fine. But it just took. Yeah, I guess I just wasn't expecting it, and yeah, I think no matter, I, and I'm sure everybody's experience is different, I would assume. I don't know. I really haven't. I've spoken to other friends who have retired, and what it seems like is, and maybe that's why we're friends, but we've all kind of gone through the same thing mentally. So maybe I need to speak to some people who aren't my friends or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was a really interesting part of the transition, was learning that even though I was telling myself, hey, this isn't who I am, this isn't what defines me, I kind of found myself holding on to that. Hey, that was my conversation piece. Hey, or if I saw somebody in the red, USMC hat, I'd be like, hey, right, double dog, and expect to get into a big conversation with them, and they're looking at me like, hey, man, I'm just wearing a hat. I'm not trying to get into a big conversation with a stranger. I was like, oh, okay. So, so it's fine. But yeah, now transitioning, I'm going to school now, so I'm working on my master's degree. Fortunately, my time in the Marine Corps, I was able to earn a bachelor's degree while I was in. I'm 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 looking forward to continuing education, but my professors and my students, they could care less, which is fine. I don't expect to be treated any different, but it's like we're all
Yeah.
students. He's the professor. They all come from different backgrounds, so it's inspiring to be in class with a lot of people that are half my age that know a lot more about things with school than I do. So it's been a learning experience.
They put you on this pedestal, chief officer fives, right? Lieutenant colonels, generals, right? Because it's not a day to day that people encounter them, right? It's just kind of gunnies and below, and then captains and below, right? So my question to you is, I know you transitioned. What was the catalyst to like, hey, 26 years, I'm not going to 30. This is not it no more. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, or it was just like, hey, it was just my time to go. It was my time to transition.
That's a good question. I should have prepared for it and wrote something down. So I'm going.
I had to throw it in there, man. I had to figure it out because we got to be honest with ourselves. What is it that I was talking to a gentleman when we were in Hawaii, because we were in Hawaii together. Funny talk. We were in Hawaii together. You came together. You came out to my graduation. We just been intermingled throughout my career and some of yours. I talked to service members out in Hawaii and be like, look, this is it. This place ruined the the taste of the organization. This ain't it. I got to drop papers and drop papers. And that was it. 23 years later, 24, 25, 26 years later, that was it. There's like no more. Or,
Yeah.
SDA just kind of ruined the taste for me. I'm out. Right.
You know, if I'm going to be honest, I'll be honest. So it's like anything in life. There's people that work uh, as plumbers their whole life, or as teachers, or they work for the postal service. But I think what really makes an individual be like, yeah, this is enough. Sometimes you just run into a personality, and
Mm-hmm.
you run into enough of those personalities, and it's just like, you know what, I'm done with this. I really don't want to deal with this anymore. And I just had the feeling of these are the types of personalities that I'm going to be dealing with for 4 more years. And for me at 26 years, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Uh, and it wasn't personalities as younger Marines. And I'm sure
Mm.
you do anything long enough, I think your peers just and I'm sure there was people who think the same way about me, like, man, Hernandez, pain. So it's just that was just where I was with the personality. I had just really, I was just done, and I really didn't. I found myself being that disgruntled master guns, and I think everybody knows maybe that senior individual who's like, man, they're just always in a bad mood. They say their door's open and that you can talk to them, but you can't. You go in there and they're like, "What? What do you want?" And you're like, "Oh dang, well, okay." So I guess just because your door's open, I guess it's not really open. It's not safe to come in here. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that individual that was sticking around doing math on a sticky. Like, all right, if I go to 30, what will my pension be? And I found myself doing that towards the end. And I said, okay, if I'm doing this, then it's time to go. And it was a young master sergeant when I first got to Hawaii, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm getting out. I'm retiring." And he was at 20 years. Smart. This guy was so smart, way smarter than me. And I was like, well, I think if I do the math and I'm doing this, and he was like, you know what, man, if you're already doing the math on what your pension's going to be, maybe maybe it's time for you to go. And I thought he kind of put that in my head,
Yeah.
and it's just that's what our organization is. I think maybe there's other job fields out there that are not the military where maybe you can just come in, hit the clock, do your time, break for chow, come back, and then work towards getting that pension. I just don't think our organization is a place for those type of people.
Yeah.
I think our organization is the smallest branch for a reason. People, I mean, the one thing that stuck is when I say, yeah, I did 26 years, and they're like, oh, what branch? And I say the Marine Corps. They're like, holy crap, how did you do that many years in the Marine Corps? I could understand, I can understand any branch of service. No disrespect to any other branch of service, but there is something that comes along with our title, and I think those that stick around should really stick around for a reason, and not just stick around for, oh man, I got to finish because I need this pension or I need that pension or I got to pay this off or I got to pay that. And that's another thing to think about is your finances that I always tell Marines, keep your finances straight.
Yeah.
Financial fitness and physical fitness, man, they go hand in hand. They both must be worked on daily. It takes a mental discipline to work on both. When you're financially fit, you give yourself the ability to be, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something new, and you can. And if you don't take care of yourself financially, then I mean, I'm sure you've met them. I met them who they just stuck around because, man, they came in right after high school. They kept that high school education and maybe that high school mentality. They never really grew as an individual, and you just do your time. You can get a pension at 20 years. It can be done, and I've seen those people, and they're doing it. And there's people doing it in every job field. So I don't know. I never wanted to be that individual.
Fair, that's fair. Throughout your career in 26 years, there's a lot going on there. You're as a recruiter during the push to Iraq, and then you come back and then you deploy, and then now 26 years later, personalities are kind of it's not the organization, it's personalities that kind of pull you out, right? How did that affect
Just
you?
me.
Just you, yeah, you, of course you. How did that affect you personally, right? You professionally, I got it, AJ squared away, leadership traits, principles. But when you come back home, how did that affect you personally? Like, hey, these personalities are really like they're in here, right? And like, God darn, and I know what you're talking about because I experienced personalities in San Diego as a drone instructor, and I'm like, what am I doing? This is not what I signed up for, right? And I come back to
Yeah.
another dude, and I'm like, whoa, this is a trend now, like peers, and it's peers. I know what you're saying. It's peer groups and senior enlisted and senior officers that just become like, you know, really internally driven, not externally driven. So how did that affect you personally?
Now it's affected me in a way where, I think that now what if I would have just came at that? I always try to look at things like a learning experience. Like, uh, if if I'm not vibing with somebody, it doesn't always mean that, man, this person's messed up. It you know, it goes both ways. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
not communicating in a way that we're both able, that so but believe it or not, those personalities, now that I'm in an area where there's no military base anywhere near here, man, it's crazy. I miss them because the one thing that I knew I could always do with whether especially with an individual that maybe I didn't see eye to eye and we argued all the time. And in the back of my mind, subconsciously or whatever it was, I always knew that, hey, when business needed to get done, we got it done.
Yeah, yeah.
And believe it or not, the worst personalities that you're gonna encounter in the military may I hope it's not any of your experiences, but in mine, those worst personalities still beat the best personalities of some of the people that I meet. It feels like it's just And again, could it be that I did 26 years in the Marine Corps and I was just used to dealing with Marines? Sure. Uh, but yeah, that's yeah, I miss I miss being around Marines as much as I hate to admit it.
Because
I
I
I
remember
I,
us talking.
I
You're like,
love the new hairdo. I like the mustache. I'm not worried about a PFT or a CFT. I look at my calendar. My youngest son is a Marine, and I texted him the other day, and I'm like, "Hey boy, what you doing?" He's like, "Bits." I was like, "Ah, bits." I used to hate that, but
that's funny.
so it's I've been retired a year now. And yeah, I don't miss it. I don't wake up in the morning like it's not like apocalypse now over here. I'm not hanging from or I'm not Major Payne. I'm not hanging upside down from a pull-up bar, taking my gun apart and putting it back together as fast as I can before my nose starts bleeding. But I miss being around my people, man. Like I do. There's something to be said about what we do as an organization, and I can think of right now. I could put a face on the individual who drove me the most craziest, and I still have yet to have come across someone out here that meets that
Yeah.
compares to that individual. So, that just goes to show you those folks out there that are listening. If you think, oh man, I can't stand, because I thought this, we talked about it. Also, the hardest part for me in my career was the first, you know, 5 or 6 years of my career, learning how things worked, learning how to communicate with others. I mean, and again, I came in '96, so along came this thing called the internet. Then it was like, all right, I got to learn how to write emails
Yeah.
correctly, which some people are still learning because maybe they're typing emails like they text. But there's that transition and that struggle. That was one of the things that stuck with me my whole career that I look back on more fondly than anything I ever did was those years when I was struggling, when it was like, I think I've told you the story. My girlfriend in high school, we got pregnant in high school, and so when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I had a daughter. And about a year or so after enlistment, I married my girlfriend. We're still married to this day, Ruthie. And I remember looking under the couch for change and, going to the gas station, like, yep, 86 cents on pump three, please. Thank you very much. And that was a cup of noodles for dinner, a cup of noodles from like cup of noodles, that little hamburger helper glove guy. Well, those things came in handy back in the day, but you learn to appreciate where you're at in life, what you have in life when you didn't have it. If I can give any piece of advice to anybody, sometimes maybe this was just something I deflected, maybe I felt it on myself, but sometimes I felt like the younger Marines felt, and maybe this is old guy perspective, but younger Marines, and I was walking around as a master guns, there might be a lance corporal or a corporal walking around like, well, I should have the same thing that master guns does. We're both Marines, like. Easy, Tiger. Come on, dude. Like, you should go do an SDA. Why don't you go do an SDA and put yourself through some more uncomfortableness? Learn learn to enjoy being comfortable. I don't know. It's there's something to say about struggling and learning how to get through the struggle. Not that I want anybody I really don't want people to struggle financially. I don't want anyone to struggle mentally or emotionally. That nobody deserves that. Nobody should
Yeah.
self do that. But there is a resilience. We talk about we want Marines to be resilient, we want Marines to be tough, we want Marines to be resourceful, and you learn how to do that. Unfortunately, sometimes just through the struggle. Whether it be struggle of like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm learning something new, I got to struggle and learn it.
Yeah, that's true. I was resilience is a big topic nowadays. I'm here on a Navy installation, and resilience is a big thing. We're pushing resilience, resilience, resilience. I guess that's
Yeah,
the key, token word this year, resilience. But if you could put something tangible, Theo, put something tangible for individuals, just in general, not service members, just individuals, people that are struggling right now, give them something tangible. Hey, if you're doing this, do this. If you're doing that, probably shouldn't do this. Here's my advice. One thing that last minute hoorah, save round. What is it that you can, Here's what you need.
Okay, here's some good advice that I got years ago. I offer it everywhere I go. Choose your friends wisely.
Mm.
Can we? I'm not sure what type of language we can use on this.
This is your
Probably
show. You can do whatever you
okay.
want.
It's my show. So if you got 9 dumbass friends, you are not the diamond in the rough. You are dumbass number 10. So choose your friends wisely. Your the people that you surround yourself with is really how you kind of judge your character. So, and again, we all do dumb things. We're all gonna do dumb things with our friends, but you should all be pushing each other forward in life, whether it be, hey, when are you enrolling in school? Not that anybody needs to be materialistic, but okay, what are you saving up for? What do you have to show? And again, put money away. Like I said, I'm big on financial fitness. I guess only because I remember what it was like in the financial struggle, and I don't want to be there again. But yeah, that's my if I'm giving people one thing on my way out, choose your friends wisely.
Choose your friend.
Don't be dumbass.
Hell
Don't be
yeah.
dumbass number 10.
Dumbass. That's good though, because if I think about it, you're talking about learning from your mistakes, and a lot of the time, I talk to Marines now. Is just like, look, hey, what do kids do when they're kids when they want something? They say something, and they're always learning that way. Why does that change when we get older? Why? Why don't you ask for help? You think you know everything about marriage? Have you been married before? No.
Yes.
You think you know everything about financial fitness? Are you rich? No. Well, then ask the questions. Don't think you could take the world on yourself, right? And it goes back to your point: choose your friends wisely. If you're choosing that circle is small, you're going to be better suited for life, right? Because if I look at you, you've been married 20 plus years. I haven't been married that long. I haven't raised a college age daughter, a college age son, two college age sons, right? Working full time. I haven't raised those things. So that, we talk on the side. I always, ping you like, hey, did you do this? What did you do here?
Yes.
Blah, 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 right? So I'm always picking my circle, just like you, is picking somebody that's a little bit older than me, more experienced, because I can learn from them. And maybe, hopefully, I would like to say that I'm doing the same service to them. And I do appreciate I have you in my Rolodex, your time. So I do appreciate you taking the time, Theo. And, you know, your words are wisdom, your words are power. And they're very knowledge, and it's very impactful, right? So I appreciate you taking the time to come on. It's kind of like a mental session for me. I don't know about for you, but it is mentally,
Yeah.
does help me get my stuff out there. So Marines that want people that want to connect with you, like, look, man, he's really driving with me right here. Where can they reach you at?
They can reach me through you. So if you want to give your cell phone number out, they can text you at any time of the night, any time of the morning, and then you can relay their messages to me sometime midday. No, I mean I'm not. I'm out there on LinkedIn. If somebody wants to find me on LinkedIn, they can do that. My social media is, I mean, I don't know if I come off as someone can learn something from it. My social media is not set up at all. Again, I'm the old guy, so I use my social media basically to just look at what other people are doing all the time. I really don't post. So yeah, yeah, like I said, they can find me through.
Hey, don't text me in the middle of the night though. I appreciate it. Don't offer that. I'm not a first sergeant with a diamond or eagle and anchor in there.
No, if I don't know how people would even start to reach out with me. If folks do want to find me,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah, can find me on LinkedIn, and then I'll hook you up with my Facebook and Instagram. That's really all I have is a Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn page. So yeah,
Theo, I appreciate you coming on. Quick session. I know I'm taking a lot of your time up. You're enjoying the winter weather up in, what is it, South
yeah,
Washington, right?
Central Washington.
I'm up here in across the lake from Seattle, so it's just I mean it's not as cold. It's 15 degrees, 7 degree difference. I'm sure the wind chill is different over there, but I appreciate you
Yeah, I
taking
was
the time
looking
to
at
come
it.
on.
It's nice and chilly out here, so I'll be on the laptop doing some schoolwork today. So today inside stuff all day today.
That's Hey, again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, follow, like, subscribe on your podcast, all social media platforms. We got Theo Nando, aka Master Gunnery Sergeant Fernando Hernandez, United States Marine Corps, 26 years. thank you for coming on. It's truly an honor and a blessing to have you on. And if you ever need anything, let me know. You got my number, and I'll do the same for you.
Will do. Same for you.
All right, Theo. I'll see you later.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Pit Talk, Paul and Pits and Opinions with the host, Kenny G. And we out.
Stand by, contact. Ceasefire. Stand by, contact, contact. Ceasefire.
Pit Talk is a podcast featuring active service members who discuss their thoughts and opinions on various issues surrounding military life, current events, and history. The statements heard here are the opinions of its members and guests. These do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense and are not endorsed or sponsored in any way. Listener, viewer discretion advised.